Hello, my name's Micah Van Dyke, and today we're going to be engaging popular music. We're going to be looking at discernment, learning what it is and why it's important for us. To start, I think it's important that we understand the context of popular music in our lives. Music pretty much is everywhere. It surrounds us. When we're at the mall, it's playing in the stores. When we're watching TV shows or movies, it's playing in the background. Video games, there's always music playing. And even if someone else isn't choosing the music that we're listening to, most of us have a device in our pocket where we can pick a song and listen to it whenever and wherever we want. When we look at the stats, we can see that 91% of Canadians say they listen to music. On average, teens listen to about 29 hours of music a week. That's over 4.5 hours of music a day. And for those of you who might be subscribing to a streaming service like Spotify or Apple Music, that number jumps to 37 hours of music a week. And that makes sense. For those of you who have a streaming service or access to a streaming service, you probably value music a bit more, so you're going to be listening to more music as well. And music is powerful. It actually can shape what we do. That music that's playing in the store in the background, that's there because it's been proven that customers buy more stuff when music's playing in the background. And for athletes, if they're listening to music while they're exercising, their results will actually be better. They might run faster or they might lift more weights just because of the music. And I love this one. There's been studies around the volume of music in restaurants, and it's been noticed that if the volume's turned up, customers will eat faster versus if the volume is turned softer. Now those are just some ways that music might impact our behaviors, but I also think music impacts us on a much deeper level. Music shapes who we are. It shapes our identity. And music can be this incredibly powerful tool that helps us connect with God, helps us understand ourselves better, and even helps us understand the world around us. But like all incredibly powerful tools, there is a side to it that could also be harmful. Music can tempt us towards maybe unhelpful or sinful behaviors, could distort how we're seeing other people around us, and even cause us to be unhappy. And one thing that we must remember with music, particularly in our context, is that popular music is a business. That the people creating this music are creating it because they want to make a profit. And these companies that are creating this music, they want to shape listeners into passive consumers. Because the more passive of a consumer that the listener is, the more profit will be made. And like we talked about before, children and teenagers are a very profitable group of people for these music companies. Now the amazing thing about music is not only is it a product that we like to consume, this product also has meaning and messages in it. The words that we hear teach us stuff. And sometimes these music companies and artists will use the music to teach us certain things so that we're better passive consumers. Here's a few things that these music companies want us to believe about ourselves so that we're the best consumers possible. First of all, they just want you to believe that your only role on this planet right now is to be a consumer, that you have nothing to offer right now. Maybe when you become an adult, that's when you start to contribute to society, but for now, you're just consuming things. The second thing they want you to believe is that you're the most important person on the planet right now. They want you to be self-absorbed, so that you're only thinking about yourself and not other people. The third thing that they want you to believe is that you're naturally rebellious. Often you'll hear this idea that, teenagers, they're naturally rebellious. They're just going through the rebellious phase. By believing that you're rebellious, there's separation that's being created between younger generations and older generations as well. And with that separation, we get to the fourth point, where it's only important to focus on your friends. Those are the most important people. Now, if you believe all four of these things are true, you're the perfect consumer for these music companies. And there's many songs where we can see these pillars being taught to us. There's one song in particular where we can see these four pillars quite clearly. And that song is Seven Rings by Ariana Grande. First of all, if we think about the chorus, it's simply just saying, I want it, I got it, I want it, I got it. We can see the self-absorption there. We can see this idea of wanting something and getting it. We can see other parts of the song where it's talking about rebellion. And we can also see parts of the song where it's talking about focusing on friends, buying 7 rings just for her friends. And this line in particular always sticks with me. Whoever said money can't solve your problems must not have had enough money to solve them. This idea that possessions, that's the way to solve all of our problems. So as we can see, there's these 4 pillars even coming through the music that we're hearing. So my main argument, my main point I want to make right now is that I don't think the music industry should get to tell you who you are. I don't think you're a passive consumer. I believe you're an image bearer of God who has lots to offer this world. And I want to help you find the best music possible. And that's where discernment comes in. Music discernment helps us find songs that are going to shape us in positive ways and avoid those songs that are going to be harmful to us. And discernment's a skill that any human can benefit from. Now, I'm a Christian, and you may be exploring what it means to be a Christian as well. And there's an added element to this idea of discernment when we're following Jesus. And that simply is this: as I'm following the teachings of Jesus, as I'm a Christian, a Christ follower, are the emotions and the ideas that I'm hearing within the song truthful and helpful for me? It's not just about the words, what the song is saying, and whether it's true. We're also looking at emotions, because music connects with us on a very emotional level. And there might be a song that's true, but it may not be helpful for us as we're trying to follow Jesus. I love this passage in Colossians 2 verse 8. And Paul is basically writing to a bunch of new Christians who've been hearing a lot of different ideas from the people around them. Paul basically says, don't let anyone capture you with empty philosophies and high-sounding nonsense that come from human thinking and the spiritual powers of this world, rather than from Christ. Paul's saying there's going to be a lot of different ideas that we're going to hear as we're growing up. A lot of them aren't true. A lot of them don't come from Jesus. And we have to discern. We have to figure out, well, what is true? What is helpful for me? And we're going to practically look at what that might look like for music specifically. Well, let's start by picking the last song that you heard. Just try to think back to your playlist. And if you can't think of what was the last song you heard, think of what your favorite song is right now. And just keep that in your mind as we go through some of these steps of discernment. The first step of discernment is to ask 5 curious questions about the song that we hear. Often we can jump to conclusions about whether we think the song is good or bad without really exploring what we're hearing in the song. And these questions help us unpack what we're hearing. The first question to ask is, well, what is the mood of the song? Is this a happy song, a sad song, an angry song? Because music connects with the listener on an emotional level, and it can actually change how we feel. So in order to know what's helpful and harmful, we need to actually understand what might be shaping our mood. Second question to ask is, well, what part of the song is sticking in my memory? Because we each come to the song with our own experiences. And I might listen to the song that you're thinking of, and different parts will stick out to me than that are sticking out to you. And it's helpful for us to think, what's sticking out to us and why is that? The third question to ask is, well, why did the artist write the song? Because artists are motivated to write music for a variety of reasons. If they want to make a lot of money and be famous, they may be saying things that distort the truth in ways that sound attractive to us, but aren't actually true. But there's lots of artists out there that want to explore ideas or experiences that might encourage us. Now, the artist isn't in the room, so it's impossible for us to completely know why they wrote the song, but often we get a gut feeling from what we're hearing about what the artist is hoping to achieve. The fourth question to ask is, well, how are other people experiencing the song? Because there's certain songs out there that can bring us together and other songs that can divide us. They might divide us based on a variety of things, including maybe our gender, sexuality, race, class, even religion. And we might hear a song and feel like it's a great song, but then other people around us, it might actually silence them or make them feel unsafe when they hear that song. And it's important that we notice that. And then the fifth question to ask is, well, how does this song match my values? Because we all have certain values. We all have things that we think are important and other things that we might think are less important. And most songs are reflecting the values of the songwriters. So seeing how a song disagrees, agrees, and even stays silent about some of the things that we find important in life, that can be helpful for us when we're choosing a listening response. Because as we discussed before, music is shaping my values. So after we've asked those 5 curious questions, then we can actually make a listening response. And like I talked about before, culture and music companies, they just want us to make one listening response. And that's to consume the song over and over and over again. They don't really want us to think too much about what we're consuming. But we have choice. We're image bearers of God, and we can actively make a listening response that is different than what these music companies want us to. So let's look at some of those listening responses that we can choose. The first choice we have is to avoid the song. We can choose not to listen to that song again. We can delete it from our playlists. When it comes on the radio, we can change the dial. This is an option for us when we think this song will harm me if I listen to it more and more. The second option we have is to find a related song. Maybe there's certain parts of the song that we really like, but then there's other parts of the song that don't match with our values or we don't like. We can search other artists who are making similar music, but maybe have better values. And sometimes even we might like the values in a song, but we don't like the genre. So we can find other music out there that has similar values, but maybe has better music. A third option is to critique the song. And this is where we say, hey, I'm going to listen to the song actively because I want to learn from it. I'm going to be a bit cautious because there's maybe some parts of the song that I disagree with and I want to engage with the content, but I'm not sure exactly what my conclusions will be after that. This is an awesome opportunity to invite friends and leaders into the conversation to help you process the emotions and the ideas that you're hearing. And then the fourth option that we have is to consume the song. Now you might be asking, wait a minute, didn't you say we shouldn't consume music? There's a big difference here. I don't think you should consume music that the music companies are telling you to consume. But there are certain times when you can choose to consume songs. And this means you're choosing to listen to the song with a little act of discernment. You might be using it as background music when you're studying or as a distraction. And you're looking at it and saying, hey, I don't think this song can do me much harm to have it as a song that I'm consuming. So those are the 4 listening responses that we have available to us. We can avoid the song, we can find a related song, we can critique the song, and we can consume the song. And after we've made our decision, just like any other work we do, it's important that we check our work. So there's one final step to discernment, and that involves 3 checks. The first check is to just say, hey, did I follow through with my choice? Maybe a week later, looking back and saying, hey, I said I was going to avoid that song. Did I delete it from my playlists? Or hey, I said I was going to find a related song. Did I do some research into what other music's out there that might sound similar? The next check is to make sure that our choices are balanced. That's where we look at a bunch of songs that we've discerned to see whether we've made a variety of choices. Because sometimes we might be making the same choice over and over and over again. So if we see that we're always avoiding every song we hear, we know that we formed a bit of a bad habit. We need to be able to exercise our discernment muscles so that we can find songs that we relate to, critique, and consume versus just always avoiding them. A good habit we can see involves songs that we find across the spectrum. Now they don't have to be completely even, but we should be able to be exercising our discernment muscles and know songs that we have in each of these categories. And then the final check we need to do is to see whether the song is changing us for the better. And I'm going to end with this story to illustrate this. So the song 24K Magic was a song that when it first came out I loved. I thought musically it was a great song that was referencing a bunch of different eras of music. 80s hip-hop, 70s funk, and I just loved the music. So I decided that was a song that I was going to consume. And I consumed it for about a month. But after a month I started to notice that after I heard the song, I always felt slightly less happy. And then it hit me one time I was listening to it. I was feeling less happy because the song was making me feel jealous. Bruno Mars was telling me how great his life was in the song. He was telling me all the amazing things he had. And I was looking at his life and comparing it to my life and not feeling enough. And that wasn't the type of person I wanted to be. I wanted to be a person who was full of gratitude, who was happy with the things that he had, and wasn't looking with jealousy at what other people had. So I decided that this song was not changing my life for the better, and I moved it from my consume category over into my avoid category. And to this day, if it comes on the radio, I change the dial. Now the amazing part is I don't think I'm missing anything, because every time I'm avoiding that song, I'm creating an opportunity for me to hear a song that's going to change me for the better. So those are the 3 steps of discernment. Now I covered a lot of material here, and I think we need to practice. So the next part of this lesson is going to be listening to a song and then walking through that discernment process. And then later in the lesson, you get to choose a song to discern for yourself. Talk to you soon.